at in the standings. Yes, they took a victory off of Gale Force Esports, but we've seen Gale Force in the past lose some series, especially when they have to play multiple teams in a weekend. This being able to take out Roll20 would be huge for our fairly new team of Team Freedom. It is exciting. Their team fighting is phenomenal, and these statistics prove it. They have the highest team kill-death ratio by a large margin, Team Freedom do. And after that, fairly far behind are Tempo and Roll20. They are lethal, and it is cool to see from a team who had a roster swap, came in, and potentially are doing the best with the new roster.
Yeah, they are by far the quickest winners after the breakdown role swap, roster swapping that we've experienced at phase number 2. But both have similar-ish play styles, kind of. It's kind of hard because Roll20 has been evolving overall. But when they did open up very early on, it was still the Glarong show, right? It was very much about the heroes that he was going to be on. It was when Medivh Diablo was the first time that they busted that style of strategy out. All of North America had to follow Roll20. Team Freedom seems to be the team that's doing that in the opposite manner, but the name is Cure. I feel like that gives an upper hand to Roll20. They're more experienced, but more importantly than anything, they have had the exact same hyper carry, single person, enabled them, they'll run the show, they'll make things happen. Granted, it's not saying taken away from any of the playmakers on the rest of the roster. It's just generally when they're at their best, it's that guy standing out, and I feel like Glarong being in that position very much knows how to be able to take it down.
Yeah, but Roll20 have been changing a lot of the ways that they've been playing, trying to have beyond just the Diablo Medivh. So let's see how it works out in this series that matters so incredibly much. Game number 1 takes place on Tomb of the Spider Queen, Roll20's pick.
Roll20 here actually opted to ban out the Infernal Shrines. Team Freedom banning out Battlefield of Eternity, a map that Roll20 has been so lethal on in the past. You got the stank eye. What is it here?
You know what it's about.
Yeah,
Roll20 banning Infernal Shrines.
Yeah, so I got to cheat. I knew the map bans before. I'm sorry, didn't say anything about it. And I thought quite a bit about it. I've had a long while. I do feel like a bit of this is just, you know, showing that Freedom has put up enough of a fight, at least consistently enough in the world of practicing, that they can at least, it's a coin toss is how they would interpret that someone can rival that. So they ban that out. You see the mirrored Battlefield of Eternity, you know, that's kind of been the second go-to. And now, also, we have to consider Roll20 has been slowly changing their map priority. They haven't been as rigid as we experienced in phase number 1. So it is a little bit weird, but you know, I feel like it's very calculated, and I like to see this shift.
The biggest part that's weird to me is that last weekend, Team Freedom banned Battlefield of Eternity in both of their series.
Yes.
So Roll20 could have theorized that Team Freedom was going to ban it again.
Yeah.
Take out Battlefield of Eternity, that's already taking away one of Roll20's favorite battlegrounds. Then Roll20 bans Infernal Shrines. Now we're going to Tomb. Yes, it has been more of a favorite of Roll20, but it's limiting what we know to be Roll20's top battlegrounds.
Very much so. Tomb has been that new flavor,
oh my.
But Freedom is going to get themselves the Genji. That is going to be Cure again on that hero. So very flashy. I talked about it. It's stand out whenever we see him on the hero. Like, it's not even just the Genji, but it is very apparent whenever he gets his hands on that hero. So successful with that. And then there's going to be Greymane and Stitches for Roll20. No major shift here when it comes to the picks. Everybody's sticking to what they know. And, you know, that was something Roll20 talked about in their interview, that they feel like Team Freedom is very rigid in their drafting. They are a bit of kind of like, well, once this is gone, this is there. And that's something we've noted as well. I do feel like I very much agree. That is their strength, but also their weakness, depending on how hard they can flex some of those other roles.
Yeah, what it does allow Roll20 to do is know where Roll20 is going to go within the draft. They can always think that and make sure that, okay, we give Genji, we know they're going to get Genji, so we get these next 2 picks. Greymane has always been an important factor for Roll20, and they get Stitches, which is important to Roll20, but maybe even more so to Team Freedom. So that's the first deny that we're seeing here, taking Stitches. Does Freedom get a warrior earlier on because of that? Yes, they do. They take a new Barak as well as Rhaegar for collusion.
Some really high priority there onto the supporting. It's going to complement a lot onto the wave clear area. The Uther has already been removed. I wonder if that's actually going to be a ban on a Malfurion in the secondary ban phase now for Team Freedom. Heavily targeting that of Bud's hero pool, and it removes the synergy as well with the Stitches.
I definitely agree that we'll very likely see the Malfurion ban from Team Freedom. What do Roll20 take away from Freedom, though? Likely there's still going to be some sort of backliner, but I wondered if they would go so far as to ban D.Va. They do. Nasmus's most played hero, Team Freedom's most played hero, I believe. Yep, D.Va sitting at an 80% win rate with her 2. Nasmus has been making a case for D.Va. It's phenomenal, and especially the pairing with Genji too really can enable Genji to be able to get resets along with Dragon Blade. The damage is severe. Roll20 don't want to deal with that, so they're going to ban it.
I think it's when both teams are very understanding that they have comfort picks, especially with Roll20, again, addressing the very calculated, almost to a fault, drafting out of Team Freedom. It makes target bans are more valuable for Roll20 in this series than almost every other because of that factor, because we know they are black and white. But if Freedom is prepped for that, they should, again, be able to adjust to that type of thing. You should assume things like a D.Va ban coming out from Roll20. Talking about their next 2 picks, it's the Ariel, and it's going to be a Dahaka here. So no shift really in priority coming out from Roll20. They're sticking to normal picks across the board. And luckily, we've got Roll20's Dahaka, which means Goku is going to be on a very comfortable hero.
Another thing that Roll20 can bank on in this series is likely getting Dahaka. If they're willing and able to play around the Genji, they know that Freedom is going to continue to pick Genji until it becomes a problem enough to force them to adapt, which means that Roll20, who love playing with Dahaka, can allow it to shift further down into the draft, at least for now, until Freedom is maybe willing or needs to move Cure over and play Dahaka instead. So they get their Dahaka. They have a lot of picks that we know Roll20 likes. Likely they'll be putting in maybe a Vala at the end, maybe a Lunara too.
Here we go again.
Arthas and Chromie for Team Freedom here. A bit of a mix-up out of them. But they've been using the Chromie more frequently. That's kind of been the sleeper showing up here when it comes to their drafting. So, but the map is the thing that kind of, you know, tears me the most. It's not that it's necessarily one that Chromie cannot thrive on, but it's more the when we do see Freedom showing it, it's on Braxis. You know, they're using it as that lane of defensive tool. And there it is, Medivh for Roll20. That is going to be Glorong there.
I did not think that they would bring out Medivh this game.
I didn't think that either. I can't tell if that makes me give edge to Roll20 or if it takes away. Just moving into the Medivh that, like, at that point in time, because it didn't meet kind of the go-to of the lock and Medivh, and recently they have just dropped their priority of it. It's very apparent since Goku's been a part of the squad, when and where to Medivh has not been as, you know, clear and straightforward. So now the fact that we see it there and we're like, is this it? It's either that they've innovated or it's a bit more of on a panic.
Yeah, we've seen it way more on Dragonshire, but especially since they have been favoring a lot more of the double support. Granted, both of these teams, when they double support, they would rather do it with Topstar than to have double full support. If someone were to do it in this series, it would probably be Roll20, but neither really want to go down that route. Even still, Roll20 has shown again for the second time that they are innovating this idea of needing the perfect battery for Ariel. We've seen it before. They've done it with Tracer. Now they're doing it with likely to be Greymane here, unless we've got a King Medivh hanging out.
I feel like there's no way could be. Possibly, if Postmaster's Touch, possibly you could go into that direction. I agree. It's going to be onto the Greymane. A lot is put onto the flasks, how effective they're going to hit. Yeah, utilizing that AoE as much as possible to make sure that they get the hope for Ariel.
Well, we're ready for game number 1 between Roll20 and Team Freedom. Let's head on to Tomb of the Spider Queen to get things underway.
In the blue, the old guard maybe, I guess, when at least when it comes to standings of North America, in fact, is Roll20. Glorong on Medivh, Justing on Stitches. Goku on to his Dahaka, Buds on the Ariel, and Prismaticism was our Greymane.
And in the red, their opponents, Team Freedom. Collusion playing Rhaegar. Up next, Anubarak, played by Zugrug. Arthas, played by Cure. Dainsky playing Genji, and finally Nasmus will be playing Chromie.
Minion block for Team Freedom. Don't think we've seen this once in out of phase number 2, so to explain why you do this, it slows down the minions and the rate at which they get to the mid lane. So then your mid lane, if you were to draw a halfway line across the battlefield, essentially it's going to be closer to your side, which makes you safer to get this original wave clear. The only way to counter this is if you assume it, you go to a different side lane, and then you all prioritize that lane instead. But Roll20 didn't predict it, and also Freedom didn't necessarily do it as optimally as maybe they had aimed for, so it didn't get too much value.
Kier showing that Team Freedom, when we asked them if they were going to potentially change things up role-wise, they, for the most part, wanted to stick with the roles that they brought Kier in for, which is to keep Kier on the melee. And the only time that flexes too much is when Team Freedom has D.Va. Not having that, they're going to move Dainsky onto Genji. So this will be our first chance at being able to see how Dainsky can do on the Genji. But when we look at the statistics for Team Freedom, specifically with regard to Kier versus Dainsky, they're both averaging less than 1 death per game. So they're both have really good KDA ratios, and so I'm excited to see how Dainsky can perform on this hero that traditionally has always been Kier's.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really awesome to see. Finally, not only has the team openly addressed some of the pick priority of Team Freedom, you know, with that D.Va ban out, but now it's kind of seeing the fluctuation of more than just Cure. You know, we've saw teams target Cure and try and be like, well, how can we limit his hero pool too much? He flex into things like the Illidan, and suddenly everybody goes, okay, well, that is not the proper response. Maybe there's something to do with Dainsky, though, and then taking a bit of those Cure heroes away. And that's now where we find ourselves with this Arthas being played by Cure. When it comes to the gems, though, and the rotations overall, it seems like Roll20 has been more likely to kind of set the tone, but by no means is pulling ahead.
Yeah, Team Freedom has been very fluid with their rotation of Genji, trying to see where he can maybe get some extra damage in, help out where is necessary. And Cure has been in the bottom lane, but all trying to do where they rotate back into mid and hang out in there, hope to get a kill. Level 4 available for Roll20, and they get those talents. Team Freedom is just behind, but has a few more gems turned in.
You know, this is just really interesting laning choices. The fact that Glorong is the one transitioning outwards, I just find that strange. They feel like the value provided by Glorong is enough to be able to aid it. I mean, obviously, with the lack of wave clear, Freedom's drafted, and Cure is not overly dominant up into this lane matchup. He can win, yes, but it's kind of slow and over time. I understand that Roll20 needs a baby with somebody. I was just surprised that the Glorong is the choice, because the portal play, you know, between the two lanes, I just figured maybe more of a priority for them to try and catch somebody off guard and get those early game kills.
Yeah, it seems like they're more concerned with having a potential follow-up from Buds, depending on where the hook target is pushed into. Like in that case, Buds wasn't quite there to Detainment Strike right after the hook, but instead of trying to aggress even further over onto Team Freedom side, just focusing on if they get a pick with the hook, and otherwise trying to make sure that they could keep those three together.
Yeah, and there's a really cool thing that you can make happen when your lanes are a little bit more chaotic. Talking about chaos, man. The portals really force it very, very quickly there. But it's just so, what we see Roll20, Freedom is forced to do this, right? With the laning setup, again, because of their lack of wave clear, they're essentially, what they do is to minimize losses. Roll20 is doing it to be proactive. And so what I guess I kind of was alluding to was more of, rather than forcing the 3-2 to match Freedom, one wave, you just 4-1 the opposite direction. You literally just send one person to soak up on top, and you all in gank, much like here up on mid. Stun lock to death, that's a noob down, and first blood for Roll20.
Dainsky gets in and gets some of the gems after Zugrug fell, but the Dahaka stalking in, follow up Detainment Strike too, but having Goku there as well just to make sure they could lock down Zugrug long enough to get that kill not only gives Roll20 first blood, but also gives them time to get the first turn in and Web Weavers pushing as they get 7 and as they start Master's Touch.
How much can they make happen here with these Web Weavers? The 4 people now showing themselves up on bottom. Cure is regretting showing anything. Detainment Strike did not actually get the stun against the wall. Portal's down. They go in. They quickly are going to want to go out. Is Zugrug body blocking Glorong, almost getting him enough to get the kill, but they make it out.
The turnaround Howling Blast so that Cure could run straight up to his team, getting enough time. Man, if I were in that situation, I would be panicking and just trying to run so much, but to have the wherewithal to turn around, throw Howling Blast, hit everybody.
You could say you would freeze in that type of situation. Am I right? Ooh, got the award.
Pew, pew, pew. don't know why that was the follow-up.
I don't either.
Fort down. Roll20 takes out the first fort. They're making things happen with their web weavers too, trying to make sure that they can get a big lead over Team Freedom. Hook went out. Dansky dodged it.
Nice dodge. A lot of those gems reside between Dansky and Collusion. 35 and 11 between the two of them. 66 in total, so Freedom a full level down now, but they do have enough for the turn-in. Roll20 will be a while on out.
Yeah, it's a matter of getting the turn-in, or does it get stopped? Zugrug's moving into position to zone. Team Freedom wants to chase away Glaurung.
Yeah, I really like that portal play too. Used there, eating a lot of the damage from Chromie through the Force of Will. Grayman's yet to transition downwards because he's trying to secure that 10. And now the 10 is here. What do we see Roll20 gain?
Curse of Bullet throws out to Cure. Has the self-heal. Hook pulls him back in. Zugrug is going to turn around and get the disruption long enough. Along with the slowing sands, Team Freedom may not have heroic abilities, but they at least won't lose their Arthas.
Yeah, that was a very good job here from Roll20 to try and force. But the fact that, you know, the Anuba Wrath play, Zugrug hitting the 4-man impales, that was so well done. And now we find Roll20, they're second-guessing themselves. You saw they had the 10 advantage, and they were like, time to battle, time to get the kills. When that didn't work out, they suddenly go, can we even get this fort? Or, you know, they're very much not confident in what is yes and no at this stage of the game.
At the very least, they have what is necessary for another turn-in phase, and they have done a lot of damage with their first turn-in. Being able to get a fort down already in the bottom lane and then have walls down so that once they get the turn-in, they can immediately push onto forts. And honestly, that level lead that they got was it was big in the early game that they've had this much time. They may not have been able to win fights really. They're going to try another hook. This time they have Gorge in the portal. Zugrug disrupted long enough that Cure gets out before he goes through the portal.
Yeah, and there was counterplay available on the side of Roll20. If they expected Zugrug to be able to get that kind of, you know, stall onto the stitches, there was Leyline. You very much could just be like, it's an old school strategy, you know, but it's one that checks out. You just get the stitches hook, Void Prison. It's just a straight line version of Void Prison, and it doesn't drop them all at once, but it's essentially the same thing.
Team Freedom clearing out the web weavers as quickly as they can. They do have heroic abilities now. It's everything you would have guessed. They are up against Ariel, but still ended up going into the slowing sands and paired Mobius Loop with it, as we most often see in North America, not getting Dragon's Eye.
The fort end up going down, and it looks like Roll20's got the top fort as well, purely off transition. So much so we see Dansky having to walk right on out. It's still a bit of a struggle, you know, to see that Genji on the side of Freedom and not see the name Cure up above. But I feel like he's not been given an opportunity to actually, you know, flaunt anything. It's just been Roll20 getting the first two turn-ins, sieging up and pressuring the map, and Freedom getting the slow stall out, hoping for now what is going to be a snowball of these turn-ins.
A lot of times when we see teams get into this situation, it's the team that's later on that is able to fare well because they can get the damage, but they have to not let the game snowball out of control. Nasmus blown up after the ley line seal before anyone can come in to save him, and now Team Freedom is fighting a man down.
And Goku is just sitting there trying to get the body blocks out, Cure the whole time using the slow, allowing Glaurung portal down though, and everybody's on through. Nice Howling Blast from Cure. And it should allow him to get back. Man, that, talk about some stat padding when it comes to crowd control. Time crowd controlled in this series between the Arthas and between the knockups there from Zugrug.
Zugrug has been a monster of an Anubarak player this game. So many times he has been the reason that Cure is alive after a gank comes in. Team Freedom has kept all of their gems, and they've been able to stay in this. The problem is that they are very far down, so they have to be able to be patient until they find a place to fight. They have to protect their gems.
I do want to say that a difference between some of the games recently we've seen in phase number 2 on Tomb for NA is at least Roll20's got the triple fort, right? Like they've only wasted 2 turn-ins. It's only 2 turn-ins, and it's all 3 forts down, right? On some of the other games, we did not see where it's like this entire area where the opponent could not see. Freedom is staying on their half of the map the whole time. If the forts were available, imagine that mid fort is standing. Suddenly you're like, are they turning in bottom? Are they turning in top? It is a bit of the same case, but just different enough that I don't fear for Roll20 the same way I did in every other version of these games.
Yeah, that is a huge difference that they have been able to open up the battleground so much. And even though they're
Portal.
still saving up for a long time.
Gorge.
There's a Gorge.
Come with
He's
me,
gonna
my
get
friend.
through this time.
My people need me.
Leyland off the back of that too. 43 gems drop down on the ground, littering the battlefield, and no one this time will be able to pick it up. Drag from Goku, collusion, gets into wolf form. With that wolf run, gets back in time, but that is so many gems that were just taken out.
Yeah, the Giants are pressuring on bottom. 13 talents here is still a couple minutes on out. The Roll20 is going to roll on in here to the night camp to pick that up for themselves. They have enough gems for a turn-in. It's just now more of a question of when do we want to use them, again, because this map can be so difficult. To be honest, this is one of the weird kind of moments where I wouldn't be totally surprised to see them go for like a really risky boss play. There is essentially, this is one of the windows. Because you have so much aggro on mid and bottom, your opponent has to answer those. You can start the boss without intent to actually kill the boss. They're like, they see the fact that right now, while the web weavers are moving in, the boss is being aggroed. And if they do seem to contest, you can dabble it out, bait the fight, force it, and then you got free web weaver push. But Roll20, they're going to slow their roll. That's the second roll joke in about 2 minutes. Nailing it on the bad puns today. And they get the web weavers instead.
Our seal of approval is nodding in earnest of your roll jokes this time. 2-level lead for Roll20, hoping to get 16 off this web weaver push.
I really do. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for, you know, the fact that you have to be here and everybody at home that's forced to listen to me.
That's all right. I've had a few of those jokes today, and by a few I mean probably 20. Roll20 would love to get a keep off this push. But the big deal is that they're going to get 16 and then can try to engage on somebody with their portal and the Gorge. The front line has to be careful. Cure has to be careful. It has been a rough ride for him on Arthas this game.
Bottom web weaver still sitting at the 50% threshold. Arthas transitioning down, Justing looking for a hook. Does he throw it out? No, it's just going to be the siege. Slower play here for Roll20. There it is. Naz misses the lucky winner. Does the portal go down?
He has timeout though. Kier's going to jump on top of them, and the portal is actually there for safety, but Kier struggling to stay alive. Ancestral healing on the brink of destruction, but Chromie is down. Dansky hoping to throw in the damage with the Dragon Blade, but with the double support of Medivh and Ariel, everyone from Roll20 is a full health bar.
Yeah, 4 kills is all that Roll20 has been able to pick up, but they have been very, assertive in their decision making. They're just letting Team Freedom know that they're messing around right now. You know, all it was really, I feel like when it came to the draft, I felt like for Roll20 making the conversation piece about the fact that Team Freedom's drafting was so kind of rigid, but then they only gave really, I would say, one pick maybe or ban in the entire draft phase that was specifically pushing Freedom in one direction, and it feels like that was enough. It was stop looking at Cure and start looking at somewhere else.
I think the two big deals were getting Stitches.
Yes.
Because they were able to combo that, obviously, for isolation kills in this game between Medivh and Stitches. And then banning D.Va, so there was no combo of the D.Va and the Genji this game. Freedom aren't out of it yet, but they are massively behind. They have lost a keep. They're trying to get their first turn-in of the game. They lost 43 gems earlier, but they still have enough to snowball a couple of turn-ins. That portal is going to be bad news bears for Cure if he can't get out in time. There's a hook.
Pre-cleanse, so no Gorge available.
Nice.
For anybody at home who didn't know that if you cleanse the Gorge target, they will be ungorgeable. Essentially, by making them unstoppable there with the cleanse, they can't get that CC in. Look at that, man. The knock-up, they used the cocoon. They really did not want anybody to be consumed there by the portal, but in order the portal is back up the second it gets done.
They'll be able to get out, but Freedom don't lose anybody. They're using their heroics people and their abilities to save people from Roll20, but they just haven't been able to get kills of their own, and they are running out of keeps. Their bottom keep's already gone. The siege is happening here in the mid, and Roll20 are abusing the fact that Team Freedom don't want to fight without 16 to try to get irrecoverable damage done to the base of Freedom.
Yeah, and it looks like now Roll20's got their second keep. It's only a matter of time. Wow. Glong, not like this. I know you have a portal, but ooh, that was sketchy.
I'm loving the idea of Will of Heaven plus Executioner plus Pulverize.
Wait. Hit me with that again?
Will of Heaven.
All right.
So attack speed.
Yeah.
And the crown. Executioner.
I like it.
And then Pulverize.
That's actually pretty neat.
Yeah,
The
that
slow,
is really cool to see from Roll20 with their 16 talents. But speaking of 16, Team Freedom has decided the time is now for battle. They have to keep Dansky alive though. There's the deflect, it's already down, Ancestral Healing, and now they can turn it around.
resets are available. Dansky not even going to move up in there. Now we see the Cocoon victim come out. Prismat takes the portal after the Force of Will. Glowing able to keep it up. Another portal down, disengage, and conveniently Prismat is out. I swear, man, Medivh actually works miracles.
Yes.
The fact that he's able to save, that's like the third death that Medivh alone just goes, nah, you know, it'd be cooler if he's alive.
And it is so good versus how Team Freedom plays, because when they were playing versus Gale Force, they got kind of behind, but then they were able to get team fights where they all of a sudden just made magic happen. They wiped once they had it. And you could see Team Freedom, the minute they got 16, they said, this is our time. This is where we win a team fight, we get Web Weavers, and then we never let go of the lead, and we turn the game around. And Roll20 stopped that, only allowing one kill to go through before they were able to stop that, so it's just not quite the same effect that Team Freedom were able to make happen versus Gale Force.
And now, as long as we don't see colossal staggered death one after another out of Roll20, and I do feel that they will be, you know, restrained enough to avoid that chance. It's very much just say, okay, Freedom, I mean, I see you're working, but you still got a lot to gain, especially when we see Portal plays like this. Again, the Portal will be up by the time that this one goes down. It's just whether or not Stitches survives.
The slowing sands is there, everything's slowing him down. They go after Prismaticism.
Really good shift of targets there from Glowing, adjusting in the middle of a team fight, understanding that if that kill happened on Prismat, because normally you think it's going to be Justin, he only portaled instead of instantly Force of Willing. That patience is debatably the reason Team Freedom is not just wiping away at a keep right now.
Yeah, Team Freedom stopped again from getting a team fight that was so necessary for them to get a comeback in this game. They're still down over a level to Roll20, and they have gems to get a second turn-in from this, but all they did was get one fort. These are not lanes that are so pushed out that Roll20 have to clear them before they can get back to the turn-in phases. They will be able to contest this, and with 20, Team Freedom doesn't really have a lot of time to fight over these.
They only need 2 people to channel as long as Rhaegar and one other gets it. And Goku zoned out too far, so this should be the Web Weaver phase for Team Freedom. But again, it's only a 4 down, and 20 is going to be picked up for Roll20. And when that happens, Team Freedom suddenly only really has like cheeky boss plays. So much so, I'd really like to see them kind of try and prep away for that bottom lane to stay alive as long as possible. So maybe they can go for an all-in play or something of the like here.
Unfortunately for them, Goku's been chilling in that bottom lane. Cocoon once again catching Stitches after the fact. There's a drag though, forcing out Cleanse to keep Dansky protected.
Gorge, Gorge, Gorge. Can I get another? Nope, 3 is all he gets. Justin is hungry, but maybe he bit off a bit more than he can chew, because it looks like Freedom trying to turn around this fight. Kira receives the Ancestral. Dansky moves up and moves right on out. The 3-man impale, and Gilly, it looks like they're going to be able to turn this.
Dansky's getting really low though, has another deflect. They're trying to make this happen even without their level 20 talents. Prismaticism may be the target for Dansky to finally get the resets. He takes out Greymane, giving them the first kill in this fight. Team Freedom, down level 20 talent here, somehow are still able to open up this possibility that they can continue in this game.
And now they're going to transfer up to the top lane. All right, so this is amazing for Team Freedom, but we need to just slow down here a minute. You know, the game, there's still enough gems for another turn-in immediately after. I don't feel like the boss is up, but it's close-ish in the next window while the Greymane's down. This keep is going to fall, but unless they gain more than that, it's still nearly an even game. If not, it's still Roll20s. They're keep up.
Well, they're able to make it out. I was very scared from that, especially since Hungry Stitches was back offline. They back out just before Leyline Seal. A keep is down. Team Freedom are down 1 keep. Half a keep, really, to the 2 of Roll20, but they've opened up a way to win the game. They catch Justin, who portals out. Slowing Sands on top of the portal, making sure that Nasmus doesn't get caught in a sticky situation with everyone else wanting to chase down kills.
Did you see how panicked Roll20's communication was? They've got 3 catapults up on bottom, which maybe was part of the reason they were trying to force a delay-ish, but the fact that Helping Hand, we got Medivh came out there with the Medivh cheats to be able to use that cooldown. Everything about that. Goku was off on his own trying to get a stall. Roll20 feels this game slipping from their grasp, and their play is displaying that.
Team Freedom are on the brink of 20. And they may have just changed this game around from what was firmly in the grasp of Roll20. We're going to clear out this mid, clear out the catapults, escort the Web Weaver along. Top is going along as well on its own. If they can distract Roll20 from that, that will push on closer to the core. Team Freedom, no. Their opening to win is to get kills.
Looking a little bit past this Web Weaver phase before the action clashes here up on mid. If Freedom fails to get another keep or a win condition available, even better than that up on top, Boss is the only realistic option left for them. They will only have about 20 to 30 gems available, and a full turn-in will be in the hands of Roll20. Again, assuming no major deaths or anything of the like, and the fact that now all 3 Web Weavers cleaned up, that does not feel good. Boss is about all that remains, Gilly.
5 gems away from Roll20 being able to get a turn-in. They have played patiently up to this point, given the fact that they were the ones to get the first couple of turn-ins.
Nice reveal there, thanks to the level 1. Probably, you know, one of the most convenient things to have in Heroes of the Storm, because we have no scouting system, any clairvoyance, anything of the like. Farsight, rest in pieces, Rhaegar. Gorge 1, maybe a second gonna come with it. Nope, Justing got Cocoon.
Cocoon's there. Goku's gonna come in and zone away from Justing now, has the Force of Will as well. Dragon Blade's been dropped. So Roll20 really want to get out of this situation. They have the defensive portal. Dansky gets dangerously low.
Look at Cure. The drag is enough. The slow from pull and the ley line there. Everything is so well done by Roll20. The Ancestral, I just feel, is not enough. It's a little, too late. And now Roll20 is angry.
They are going to wipe Team Freedom. They've already killed 3. They're taking out a 4th. Zugrug is on the run. Roll20 will chase him down. Goku's going to be there, but Glaurung has other ideas. He wants to go after the core. He wants to win the game. Justing, Buds, Prismaticism are already well on their way to just that. Roll20 will be able to take out Team Freedom on Tomb of the Spider Queen.
A map choice here for Roll20. So, you know, if you're a fan of Team Freedom, don't get down and out quite yet here, because, I mean, the fact that Roll20 had a lot of comforts in a very, you know, again, just I guess a composition they've ran multiple times. The fact that Team Freedom put up that good of a game for that long, the kills were low, but they really did play that game well.
They did.
I just feel like, you know, it's just that was just a small map and one that doesn't complement team fighting. Roll20 picked it. I just view it as like the fact that Roll20 barely won that game. I'm like, I'm feeling good if I'm Team Freedom. I'm ready to go. Yeah, just get me on a big map. That's all I want.
Especially knowing that Battlefield and Infernal Shrines are banned out. Those are ones where Roll20 feel very comfortable, along with Tomb of the Spider Queen. Team Freedom got a lot of what they wanted, but so did the members of Roll20. And Roll20 got just a few picks earlier on that really enabled them to get the Web Weaver phases that put Freedom where they had to make miracle comebacks in team fights. And we know Freedom is in a confident and comfortable place to do that. They do that all the time. It's just the instance that they just got too far behind and weren't able to get the kills necessary to really snowball back in favor in the late game. Specifically, looking to wipe with Genji. Medivh stopped that.
Yeah, he very much did. He's so good at abusing momentum-based heroes because he's kind of the exact opposite. You know, he's the anti-momentum, if you will, much like things like Void and Sanctification can be onto a composition that Team Freedom drafted. So I feel like I give a lot of that to draft, and I mainly give it to the D.Va ban in the second phase. Like, as long as you can remove a bit on the Zugrug, and then just with the Stitches pickup that we saw, and then into the D.Va, I'm glad that Roll20 is the first one to shed this light. Suddenly, you know, I feel like, imagine if that had happened week number 2, right? And suddenly what would have happened here for Team Freedom? That maybe not enough people identified what actually was the problem. A lot were going to the cure. And that's what I want to look in Game 3. If Dansky gets pushed a little bit far away, does the members of Team Freedom just look like another North American team then?
Well, speaking of Cure, we actually can take a look at Glaurung versus Cure in some of the statistics. There's a lot of talk about between these two players. Currently, Glaurung leads the North American region in average kills per game in Phase 2, with Cure just behind. But Cure has fewer average deaths per game overall, which gives him the highest kill-death ratio, which is a little bit different than KDA, but that's also very good in Cure's favor, in all of North America. But to put that in perspective, his kill-death ratio is still 6th overall between Korea, Europe, and North America at 3.2. Schwimpy leads at 6.4.
Yeah, you know, Schwimpy's good at the video game.
He's pretty darn good.
I am not surprised to see the gap there between those two. But yeah, these two players, Cure and Glarong, have both been very, I think almost the core, I feel like, of, you know, I don't feel comfortable saying that about Freedom just because Cure is the newest addition. And yes, he is a part of them whenever they start going and being more successful. But I almost feel like there's no way one player does that. There's no way. That group of players must have felt held back in some way, shape, or form with their old roster here. Cure maybe just enabling and accenting it that much more to where now they all get to thrive as well.
Well, we've got the next Battleground ready, so